Welcome to a brand new design session. My name is Alicia and today we'll design a notification center. We'll analyze a really simple and a very complex version of this design pattern to eventually create a high-fidelity pixel-perfect mockup. Let's get started. Notification center comes in an array of shapes and sizes. First, we have YouTube, and it's a really simple popover with a list of notifications, and some of them are marked as new with those little blue dots. The second example is from Medium, and this platform has a separate page for all the notifications, and they are grouped in tabs with all and responses, and we can also see that the new ones are highlighted with this little green line. And the most complex example for today comes from Jira. It has a lot of elements, so let's take a look at the header first. We have a title, the show only unread notifications switch, and we have tabs that group the content. And below that, we have the list of notifications with mark all as read button, and each notification also has a simple button just to mark this particular notification as read. And when it comes to a particular notification, we have some standard elements like avatar, label, and time, but we also have a project or, for example, a status, or we can preview a comment here. Now let's move on to Excalidraw and start sketching our notification center. And here I've pasted a generic screen for a task management app, and we will create a notification center that opens from this icon here. The first thing that we need to do is to take a rectangle tool and draw our popover where we will put the notifications. And let's start with a label. So the notification content, let's say it will be Mike mentioned you in a comment. Let's change the text size to small, maybe even smaller. I think we need to expand this window slightly so that we can fit everything that we need. Another thing that we need to do is to put an avatar here so that we know who the comment is coming from. I'll also add a letter, the M for Mike, and put it in the center of our circle. I'll move the label slightly here. I also would like to add a time. So let's say 2 days ago. And move it slightly to the right. Maybe we can make it gray just to differentiate that it is a less important information. And I also want to mention what project it's coming from. So let's say it will be a Kanban board project. And on the left, let's add a simple icon just to mark that this is a project. For now, we can use just this diamond shape to mark that this will be an icon and then go customize it in high fidelity. Let's group some of the elements. So let's group an avatar, Command G, Kanban board and the icon, Command G. And then group all of the elements so I can easily drag and copy them. Let's drag it a little bit to the top and drag and copy, let's say 4 times. And I would like to change the content of the notifications slightly so that the mockup looks more credible, and I will speed this up for you. Great, and the last element that we want to add is a little dot on the right here, just to mark that those are new notifications. And we can definitely use some color here because it's a really important information. So let's use, let's say, the orange to be aligned with what we have in the notifications here. And I think I can change the stroke width to a little thicker. And let's say I will copy that to 3 of 4 notifications that we see. And this is a very simple notification center. I think we can go one step further and add a title and the switch for unread only. So let's group all of the notifications together so we can move them around freely. Command G. Let's expand our background slightly just to fit the title and the switch. Move the elements, go with the type tool and go with notifications and maybe mention the number 3. Click escape and move them to the center. Change the size to maybe medium. Now let's draw a switch. So we go with the rectangle tool just to mark the background for the switch. Of course, we want no background here. And stroke width can be a little thinner. And now let's select the circle to draw the actual switch. Place it a little bit closer, maybe change the size a little just to keep it more proportional. Select both elements and Command G. And now we need a label. So let's press T and let's type show unread only. Of course, I need to change the size of this font just to make it a little bit more proportional. I can even shrink it a little bit more. Place it here, place it next to the switch. And I think we're ready with our header. To go even one step further, we can expand the background a little bit more and add tabs. Let's go with the type tool, type all, drag to copy my tasks, and drag to copy again favorites. Let's spread them apart a little bit more, and let's draw a line just to underline and show that those are the tabs. And let's mark the active tab with, let's say, blue line. Let's add a little bit more vertical space here, and let's move the tabs closer together and change the background. So we have yet another level of complexity added here. And the last element that I want us to add in this notification center is mark all as read and a header for our notifications. If you've been enjoying this tutorial so far, you can like this video and subscribe to my channel. I publish new videos about UX design, getting hired, working in Figma and creativity every single week. So again, I'm going to expand the background a little bit just to add more space. Take the type tool, type in mark all as red. We can keep it blue just to make it look actionable and separate from other texts. Let's drag to copy and go with recent. And this is a header for our notifications, so I'm going to make it, let's say, gray. I've added it to balance out the mark all as red button visually and also to inform users what is the order of seeing the notifications. Shrink the background so that we fit all the elements, and our low-fidelity notification center is ready. I think we're ready to move on to Figma and create a high-fidelity design of a notification center like this one. I'll show you how to create all of the elements and also how to achieve this effect of scrolling behind the header. The first thing that I would like us to create is the header with the title, tabs, and the switch. And to start, let's press Command period to bring back the panels, and let's draw a frame where we will put all of our elements like components and things that we are working on. Let's start with drawing the switch, and I think we can use the rectangle tool, and let's go with 16 pixels height and around 28 pixels width. And let's add a really high number to the corner radius, like 999, just to round the corners. And let's change the color to our primary color. And let's create a new style for this color. Go to Style menu, click Add, and go with Primary. And create style. And now we can draw a circle inside of our switch. So let's go with Ellipse tool, hold Shift to keep the proportions. And I would like us to have 12 height and width. And we'll just go with simple white. And this is the toggle in on state. Let's also create the one for off state. Let's move the dot to the left, and we need to keep the same distance top, bottom, and to the left here, so it looks proportional, so we don't have a situation like this, for example. And now we need to change the color of our background. Let's detach the color and change to something gray. I think a color like this will be fine. The idea is that we need to make it look active and actionable, so the contrast needs to be high enough, but also the switch that is on needs to be colorful to signalize that it's on. Now let's create a component out of it. So let's select both of the elements, Command Option G to group it. And the same thing for the switch below to create a frame. And let's name it toggle/true. And the bottom one, let's name it toggle/false. And now let's select both of them, go to the component menu and create component set. And this created a toggle component with two variants. And we need to change the property to state. And now if we go to Assets and drag the instance of our component, you can see that we can change the state on and off. Perfect, so now we have our toggle ready. Let's move it a little bit to the right and let's work on our title. Let's switch to layers and get the type tool by pressing T or selecting here from the top menu. Let's go with notifications. Let's style it properly. So we want 16 pixels font, Satoshi bold is fine. Let's go with 24 pixels line height. And also we want to change the color to our purple-ish color that we use in the original design. And also to reuse those elements later on, I want to create a new style for text primary. Create style. For our text style, I would like to create style as well. It will be a header and create style. And it's important to notice that in Figma, we have separate text styles, so the size of the font, the line height, etc., and the color that is assigned to an element. So the text style doesn't include the color. Now let's click on Type tool again, and let's go with 3, so it will be the number of our notifications. We need to detach the header style and go with something smaller, like 12 pixels, for example. And also the automatic line height will be fine. Let's frame our selection to create a bubble. We need to add a fill, and it will be our primary color. And you can see that we can barely see the number 3, so let's change the color here to white. And let's create a bubble by adding auto layout and adjusting horizontal padding to 8 and vertical, let's say, to 2. And let's change our corner radius to 999, so we have a fully rounded bubble. And now let's see how it looks all together. Let's select both of the elements, frame selection, add auto layout. We have our horizontal auto layout selected, but we want it to align to the left and to the center so that the bubble is in the center of our header. And the space can be, let's say, 8 pixels apart. And the next element we want to create is the switch. So let's add the label, show on red. And it's definitely too big, so let's detach the header style, go with 14 pixels, bold also, and let's go with 20 pixels line height. Let's change the text color to text primary, select both of the elements, click Auto Layout, and it will automatically create a frame for our selection. Select Align Left to the center so that we have also those two elements centered. And let's say we want them also 8 pixels apart. And one more thing to do here, we want to select both of those groups, frame selection, add Auto Layout, and have a setting of Auto for them. And also here in the middle to align to the center. What auto setting does in auto layout is that it spaces out elements automatically. So if we were to have a third element in the group, let's say, and we need to expand this group a little bit to see it, the space here will equal to the space here. But if we only have 2 elements, it just keeps elements on the edges of the frame. Now let's move this element a little bit to the bottom and let's work on our tabs. Let's type in all. And we want to use the same style that we used for show and read. So let's come back here and let's create the text style of label, create style, and we can apply the same text style here. And here we need a tab in a default state and in the selected state, so the current tab. And to do this, you need to create a frame, add auto layout, space it out top and bottom 8 pixels, and left and right 24 pixels, so that if we have another tab next to it, there's enough space between them. And what we need to do is to add stroke, but not to the whole tab because it doesn't make sense. We just need a bottom stroke. And to achieve this effect, we need to click on this button here, strokes per side, and select bottom. And we have the stroke only at the bottom of the whole frame. And for the default tab, I want to use this light gray color and just 1 pixel width. When we are with colors, let's also select the text and update the color to text primary. And let's press Option Shift and hold it to drag and copy our tab so that we can work on the current tab. And what we want from the current tab, the only change is the color of our stroke. So it will be the primary color. And I also want it to be 3 pixels height. So there is a differentiation between active and just a default tab. And what we want to do here is to create yet another component. So let's rename the tabs, tab active, and the bottom one will be tab default. And now let's select both of those elements, go to the component menu and create component set. So we have the component name tab and with 2 variants. And let's change the property to state. And right now let's go to assets, drag our tab, and we can create our row of tabs. So we have all, then we will have my tasks, and we need to change the tab to default. And then we have favorites. And we want to select all 3 of them. Command Option G to create a frame, add auto layout with 0 pixels of horizontal spacing. And now we want to create the whole header element. And since we will be scrolling our content below this header, I need to add padding around the header. So just it is a standalone element, and then we need to scroll elements behind it, below it. So what we need to do is to select both of those elements. Once again, create a frame, and it will be our header. Let's add auto layout, left and right 24 pixels padding. And I want 24 pixels padding, but also only at the top. So I need to click on this little icon here to individual padding and change the top padding to 24. As you can see, when I hover over our element, there is a 24 pixels padding top, left and right. There's one more thing missing. When we look at the tabs, the gray line, in my opinion, it should go all the way here. So let's change the setting here. We want this group to be filling the container, but it still didn't change much. We need to add a border, the same border that we have for our default tab. We need to add it to the whole element here. So let's go with stroke and change only to the bottom stroke. We stay with 1 pixel. And you can see that the dark stroke was added, only our tabs are covering it. So let's change the color to the light gray that we were using previously. And now we have this illusion of 1 long line. And this is totally up to you how you treat this component. Because we're using the line at the bottom of the group, you might as well not use the line for the default tabs, but sometimes we have situations when we use only tabs, we don't use the whole line at the bottom. So usually I prefer to have it inside of the component and then they will just even out. And let's check one more setting here. For the top row, we want it to be filling container, and we want the whole navigation popover to have fixed width of 500 pixels. And there is a lot of spacing between those 2 elements. Let's change it to 8. So we have a little bit of a neater design. And we're ready with our header, and we can move on to the main part of the notification center, so the items. And to start working on an item, let's put together a title. Let's click on T for text or press T on your keyboard, and let's add the title of our notification. So for example, Mike commented on your issue, and that should be also our label style with the text color primary. And we also want to know when it happened. So let's go with 2 minutes ago. And we want to change the styles to, let's say, 12 pixels and auto line height. And also let's get this primary text, but I think we can detach it and let's go with 70% opacity. So it's slightly lighter. So we have some hierarchy here as well. And let's save the style of the secondary text as body small because we're going to reuse it later on. And there's one more thing that I would like to do here. For the color, I don't like to use the opacity for the colors because then they depend on the background. I prefer, if you have the color already selected with opacity, to take this eyedropper tool and resample the color so that we have a new color with 100% opacity. And we can also add it to the styles as text secondary and create style. And it was added to the text group because of the slash that we had before. Now let's press Option to drag and copy this text and put it below and go with Kanban board project. I would like to have the name of the project also in this lighter color and in the same style. And for the project name, I would like to also add an icon. So let's go to Phosphor Icons. This is a free library that you can use for your projects. And let's look for file icon. I think this kind of like document or file icon would be the best for representing the project in our case. Let's go to Figma, Command V for pasting. Change the size of the icon, I say to 20 or maybe even to 16. And I think we can give it the same color as we did for the text. We have two more elements to go. First is the avatar and the second is a dot. So the avatar, let's go with 36 pixels and let's use the Content Reel plugin. You can search for plugins here in Figma and go with Content Reel. And this is a plugin that you can use for filling out your designs with content like avatars, pictures, date, addresses, etc. If you need some content, you don't have to come up with it yourself. Let's go to avatars and let's click this avatar. And the last element is a colorful dot that will indicate that this is a new notification. I would like it to be, let's say, 8 pixels width and height, and I would like it to be our primary color. And now let's work on alignment and distribution of those elements. Let's select the label and the time. Add auto layouts, so the frame will be created automatically. And let's go with horizontal, central, and align left. And let's space them out, let's say 8 pixels apart. I would like those texts to be in the same frame as the dot. So again, I'm creating a new frame, add auto layout, and I would like to add auto setting here so that when we are spreading those apart, the group stays on the left and the dot stays on the right. And now the Kanban board and the icon, let's add auto layout and space them out, let's say 6 pixels apart. Now let's select the project and the group above, click on Option Command G, add auto layout and space them out 4 pixels apart because we want a little bit a tighter layout here. And the last item, the last frame will be the picture and all the content, Command Option G, and auto layout again, top left so that the label aligns with our avatar. And then let's go with 16 pixels or maybe even 12. Let's put them a little bit closer together. And I would like to create a component out of it so that we can reuse it multiple times. And if we were to make a change in the main component, all the instances will follow. So I will move it all the way to the top next to the other component so that we have clarity here. And I will just drag and drop it from the assets panel. And the next thing that we need to do is to multiply this notification and create a long list of items, but we need to change the content slightly, so not every single notification looks the same. And to save us some time during this video, I will just jump to the list that I've prepared previously, and you're very welcome to use that list or to use it as inspiration for creating your own content. And now we have our list ready with different names, content, labels, etc. so it looks credible. The only thing that we need to do is to remove the dots here. And we need to improve our component because right now, if we remove a dot, the text goes to the center. So let's go to the main component and take a look at our settings that we have there. So let's go top to bottom. Let's click on the first group. We need to change to fill container. Then for this group, we also need to change to fill container. This one as well. Then the Kanban board text also should go with fill container, so we can go throughout the whole width. And then the group inside of our previous group also should go with fill container. So now if we were to remove the dot, everything will be fine. So let me show you. Let's go to the fourth notification, remove the dot, and everything goes well. Because right now, the whole container for the label and for the time just fills the container and is aligned to the left, so nothing changes visually. I'll remove all of the remaining dots. And now let's select all of our notifications, click Command Option G, and add auto layout and space them out 24 pixels apart. And the last thing to do here is the recent and mark all as red. So let's move the list a little bit to the bottom. Go with our type tool, so T, type in mark all as red. We need to change the style to our label and then color to primary. And since it is an actionable button, I would like to add some padding around it. It's not a simple text, so let's frame selection. And let's add auto layout of 8 pixels left and right and 8 pixels top and bottom. And the last thing to do, type in recent. We also want to use the label style and then the text secondary color. Let's group those two elements, Command Option G to create a frame, add auto layout and space them out automatically and also to the center as you can see here so that the recent is at the same level as the text here. And now let's create the group out of all the notifications and those two elements here, Command Option G for frame. Auto layout, we want to space them 8 pixels apart, add 24 pixels left and right, and click on the individual padding and go with 24 pixels at the bottom as well. And now let's group the header and our notifications together in another frame. Add auto layout, space them out 0 pixels apart, and let's style it. We want a simple white fill, and we want to add effects like a drop shadow. Let's go with this purple color with 16 pixels opacity, 20 blur, and we can keep the Y at 4. And the edges are a little sharp for me, so let's go with 5 pixels border radius. Let's take a look at the alignment for just one moment. Let's select the whole frame and we want to set it for fixed width 500 pixels. And the header inside of it, we want it to be filling the container. As well as this notifications list, we also want it to fill the container. And then let's go one level deeper. This element should also fill container, just to make sure that we are all aligned, and this one as well. And all the notifications that are inside of our notification center should also have the same setting of fill container. So right now, if we were to change this element, the width of the elements inside of it will also adjust. Command Z. And I also would like to add a little bit more space here at the top. So let's change the top padding to 8. And of course, the whole notification center cannot be that tall. So let's shrink it a little bit. Let's say that we want to show 4.5 notification, more or less. So it will be the height of 240 and it will be fixed height. And we want to select clip content so that we don't see all the remaining notifications. And we basically have our static mockup ready. The next thing that I would like us to do is to show you how to prototype the vertical scrolling of this section. And I propose that we put our notification center on our mockup. This is also something that I prepared for you in our Figma file. Let's move it to the right. Let's align it to the right with our icon and let's say 4 pixels from our icon here. And now what we want to do is to go to prototyping and the whole element should have no scrolling. We just want this part to be scrollable. So let's go with vertical and let's see what's the effect on this right now. So let's select the whole frame and let's play the prototype. So right now we cannot scroll anything. Even though we selected vertical scrolling, nothing is going on. This is because our frame with notifications is really large and you can see here that we have our warning that says for scrolling to work on this frame, the content needs to be bigger than the frame. So what we need to do is to shrink the frame and the content is still there, but we just need to shrink the frame a little bit. So it aligns with the frame, with the end of the frame of our notification center. And now let's take a look if something has changed. Now if we scroll up, getting closer, but the problem is that we want the content to disappear as soon as it touches the end of the frame. And right now it just overflows from the frame. So one more correction here. If we were to select the group here and go to design, we need to select clip content. It means that it will clip content that goes outside of our frame. It is exactly what we did for the whole notification center. Just in this example, we need it specifically for prototyping. And if we were to go here, right now, it works as it should work. And there is one more correction that we can make here to the prototype. So it's a very common case that you shrink the frame. And then if you scroll all the way to the down of the list, you can see that the edge of the frame, we no longer have the 24 pixel padding that we've added previously. What we can do here is to add padding instead of here to the external frame, add it directly to the list of our items. So let's split the padding and go 24 here. And now let's see how it influenced the final design. We have our 24 pixels padding. And this is it. We're ready with our notification center. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know in the comments how your notification center turned out. You can subscribe to my channel and like this video. And here I've selected some other videos that you might like. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon.